Hello, everyone. This is John Simonson, Wild Rivers Trout Unlimited chapter. And today we have another series, this one with Jeremiah Fisk, the habitat biologist for the DNR out of Hayward. Welcome, Jeremiah. And why don't you talk about the fish passages?
Thank you very much, John. Trout Unlimited, wonderful partner in a lot of things that we are doing here with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. So my job, habitat biologist, um, I want you all to think back about where you've caught. We're gonna focus on fish and fish alone really today, and how we can improve fish habitat. So if you think about the biggest or the most successful fishing trip or the biggest fish that you've caught in your life, what does it all have in common? And I can answer that myself, is that maybe under a big log, maybe in a specific pool. Um, these are habitat features. And when I was young and my dad took me to these spots, I just thought they were excellent fishing spots, or my grandpa. And I can think back and to these locations, but it wasn't until I became older that I realized all of these spots, or all of these great fishing spots, have one thing in common. They have great habitat. So as a habitat biologist, my job is to make sure that the population of the fish and the fishing remains good in these locations because there is good habitat. One thing that prohibits habitat is maybe fish passage. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is fish passage in the north. So essentially what fish passage is it's the ability of fish or other aquatic species to move through the aquatic system, accessing miles and miles of water. And I'm going to focus really on trout and cold water today. I'm not going to talk much about warm water or any other passage issues, just cold water issues. So trout obviously need many things. They need food, they need shade, they need other forms of habitat, pooling habitat. Clean, cold water is essential. Where do they go to get all these things? They have to move. Different times of year, you fish in different spots because the fish are in these locations in different times of year. So fish have to be able to move, find these great habitat features, habitat areas to keep their species alive. So the question is this: what are the barriers that we face here in northern Wisconsin, northwest Wisconsin? There's dams that are here. There's beaver dams, man-made dams, and those are definite fish passage issues. A lot of work has been done to try and alleviate the issues that come up with these kind of dams. So I'm going to leave those kind of out, and I'm going to focus mainly on culverts and what we can do as a fisheries, you know, team, I guess, to allow trout to pass through these culverts in specific locations to reach miles and miles of stream. Some culverts are perched, broken, undersized, creating large plunge pools. That may be great for fishing, but we'll talk in a second about what that means exactly. So you're thinking, well, I've seen fish just jump out of the water, and why are perched culverts an issue? Well, although closely related in the family of salmon, trout are not necessarily salmon. They do not have the genetic makeup of salmon. So here we're just going to take a moment and take a look at these salmon that are jumping. 4 to 5 times their or more their body length salmon can jump. Through many journals that I've read and publications, trout can only jump roughly 1 or 2 times their body length, and that's only And that's also dependent on size and age class. So there's a much different outlook on how trout move up and down a stream. All right. So driving down the road, I'm taking a look at where I want to fish. I come to this location right here. I'm a trout fisherman. I like to dunk a worm, maybe, or throw a spinner. And here is the ideal location. Nice deep pool, good habitat features. Trout are just stacked up in the bottom of this pool, eating everything, all the insects that come flowing out of this culvert. Great spot to catch fish. I'm not going to lie, that is the truth. However, is this overall healthy for the stream in as a whole? My answer is absolutely not. So this is the controversy though, and this is what the kickback that comes with my job is what's best for the fishermen or what's best for the species in general. And I think we all know that answer. It's probably what's best for the fish in the long run. But we're trying to accommodate everybody here. So a lot of what my my job has been is creating this habitat in streams for trout, for fishermen to find. We create lunker covers, we create woody additions, we create um, many things that are kind of man-made creations. Habitat, we dig pools with excavators. We do a lot of different things, add rock to create great habitat in specific locations in streams. But what's the best bang for our buck? If we're spending money on creating man-made habitat, which we're still going to do, but is it best to spend money on allowing fish to access miles of stream rather than the hundreds of feet that we're improving the habitat? So that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. What are we going to do? How can we best meet the fish needs in habitat, the habitat format? So, our philosophy, or my philosophy, and is backed up by Scott Toshner, my supervisor, is that we need to try and allow these fish to pass, destroy these fish barriers, allow them to pass freely to access miles of stream. And so how are we going to pick the streams? Do we just go and ask fishermen where's the best stream to fish? Which one should we fix up? That's great, and we'll take that input, but I think we have to have a more scientific approach to this. So we have taken a three-level approach, basically. So first of all, we take an inventory of all the stream crossings in each of the northern counties. By the way, we're always looking for volunteers and I think Trout Unlimited would be a wonderful avenue to help us to take some of this data on these inventories. So we have an inventory of all the trout, the stream crossings in the northern counties. Within that inventory, we take measurements, we take all kinds of data telling us, is this a problem? Is this a problem location, a problem culvert, problem fish passage problem? We also use the brook trout reserves, and I'm going to talk more about the brook trout reserves in a moment. Third, we use healthy waters, healthy watersheds, high quality waters priority initiative. So these brook trout reserves and HWHQW are initiatives by the Wisconsin DNR that are huge, very important in preserving our watersheds. So first of all, I just want to explain, here's a snippet of, oops, I extended it too fast. Here's a snippet of maybe our inventory. We have, location documented and, stream name, etc., county. And then there's a lot more data that I didn't put on here that goes into these inventories. But basically, then I can go to a document and pick out, do a search for culverts that are perched 3 or more inches, and I can get a list of those culverts that are broken or destroyed or things like that. So very, very important step in the process. Next is the brook trout reserves, and I'm going to read this word for word. I don't usually like to read slides word for word because I know you all can read, but very important here. They are streams that are chosen based on objective criteria, including but not limited to amount of existing brook trout habitat, projected future brook trout habitat under a warming climate, other environmental threats, connectivity to other waters, the amount, the distribution, and type of public land and easements, the fish manager, the local federal government, and partner group interest in cooperation. So this is what the Brook Trout Reserves Initiative is all about. I'd like to take you to this initiative just to kind of show you maybe a little bit of my process. I'm going to stop that right there, and I'm going to go to this. So this is available on the DNR website for anybody to view. I'm not going to read all this or go through it, all of it. I just, I'm kind of at the point now where I go down to this map and I say, okay, so is the stream that has a perched culvert in the brook trout reserves, and it's right between Washburn and Sawyer County here, right in this area. So I'm going to click here, and obviously hard to see, so I'm going to zoom in. And my stream was Bean Brook, has a perched culvert, and here is Bean Brook right here. It is within brook trout reserves number 61, and it shows it's right in this grayed area. And then I can kind of click on it and find out more information about it. So that's the brook trout reserves in a nutshell. Very important tool. A lot of people have devoted a lot of time in figuring out these reserves. So take a look on your leisure time at the brook trout reserves. The third step, the third platform that we use is, like I had mentioned before, Wisconsin Healthy Watersheds and High Quality Waters. This initiative is basically, we need to focus on already healthy water bodies and watersheds and make sure that we're continuing to keep these healthy watersheds, high quality waters. So that's the initiative. Going on to their website, this is kind of an overview, and the healthiest ones are in dark blue, and then we've got the light blue and the green. And I'm going to take you to their website as well. Actually, I'm going to go to this particular portion. I just zoomed in. I kind of sped up the process a little bit. I was looking at the North Fork of the Clam for a different reason. And when we take a look at the North Fork of the Clam, here it shows that it is if I just click on it, here's the high quality stream, North Fork of the Clam. Click on it, and it shows us that it is meets 3 out of the 3 criteria to be a healthy water HQW watershed. And there's a lot more information. Again, I'm not going to get into all these details. That would take forever. So again, things that you can access on the DNR website that we utilize to make a decision which stream crossings, which streams are candidates for fish passage repair. So using those 3 criteria, if they meet all 3 of them, then we can kind of take the next steps. And so I've kind of made it like my top 10 list. This is my goal within the DNR to kind of tackle in the next 3 to 5 years. That's my 5-year plan. I'd love to make these specific streams passable by 2029. That's my goal. So you can probably see some of these are high interest streams. Some of them are not very high interest streams, but all very valuable streams. So I'm just going to kind of show you a few of them pictures. As you can see, this is Bean Brook, and this one it actually will be replaced end of April, early May this year. Long process. I'm very excited about that. It has kind of come to fruition this past year, and we're doing it. We're tackling it. So you can see the culvert is perched here about it. You know, some of this data needs to be updated, but it was perched about 3 to 4 inches. I think in 2016 and has now gone up to about 6 inches perched just this last summer. So obviously things change, and I think what was happening here is that the culvert was bent in the middle somehow when it was installed, and it just kept wearing away and erosion, etc. So if they're not installed properly, I'm not blaming this on anybody, but that's just the matter of the fact that we need to make sure that everything's done correctly and so that this type of thing doesn't happen. Kind of moving through this list, I'm not going to kind of talk about all of them, but you can kind of see some of the issues. There's the big pool on Stone Lake Road that is probably an issue. Some more perching on Springbrook. 5 Mile Creek is very undersized. As you can see, both the top and the bottom are big water areas that need to be fixed. Here's the South Branch of the Trade. Obviously, kind of tough for a young of the year trout to jump in through here, and this is a very important area for young of the year. Cold Creek, Cowan. I'm just going to kind of go through these quick because they're all very similar. All right. So this is obviously the goal, and you can see this is one of these open bottom arch type culverts, and it's called a culvert, even though it looks exactly like a bridge. We would all want a bridge over every single fish area, but the problem is that a bridge is much, much more expensive, and there's just not money out there to make a bridge over everything. So this is kind of a design by Contact that, and maybe there's other companies, I just am familiar with Contact that makes these open bottom, and it essentially mimics the natural stream bottom. That's the goal. We do have a few of these in northern Wisconsin already, and that's the goal, is to try and get all of them. Obviously, that's not cost effective for some of these. So, you know, this turned into this one on the bottom right, obviously perched and looks a little undersized. And so we reset it. I actually got a new one, reset it correctly, and it looks like the normal stream bed. It will be good for many, many years in that location. So the next step here is, you know, I want to show you kind of the process of fixing these culverts. This is one I was a large part of in the actual planning stages and the installation stage of the project. And I'll show you that in a moment. So this is Shell Creek up near Minong, north of Minong. Initial planning was done by other people, but I actually got involved down the line a little bit. So I'm not taking full credit for this. But anyhow, you can kind of tell, obviously, here's one of the, this is a view of the upstream. And so it looks almost marshy in a sense, which is not good for trout. There's some duckweed here, which indicates, you know, warmer water and etc. And that's just not good for trout. We want cool, clean, cold water. Downstream, here's your prototypical large pool. A lot of people fish this. A lot of people were successful in this area. They were very kind of, you know, this is the opposition that we face, like I said before. And I heard the words, "You're taking my best trout fishing spot away." Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. So downstream view, big pool, large pool. Okay, so when I look at these pictures, I see very undersized culvert, too small. We need something, it's set correctly, but it's just too small. Um, we need to do something different. So taking measurements, taking bankful widths, things like that, essential. We decided on two larger culverts to put in here. That's what the township wanted. That's what um, the people involved wanted. Plus, it met the data that we took, the measurements, etc. So then, next step would be to maybe access, rent an excavator, rent machines to make this happen. And you see in here that there's a very young, wonderful man in the machine there. And then these two guys kind of out standing here, making sure everything's being done properly is the township guys. In doing these culverts, I've come to realize that I am so reliant on stakeholders, townships, Trout Unlimited help, counties, etc., that I can't do it, alone. So this is where I need the most help, need the most assistance, is the actual installation of a new culvert, new area. So background there shows a cofferdam. Um, that's one strategy that holds back a lot of water. Another one is to um, redirect the water for a short amount of time. That's another strategy. So then we have the actual, once we get it all dug out and the specs are, we're measuring constantly. There's another picture of me in the hole, making sure that it's set properly, because if it's not set properly, then the whole thing is not going to work the way we want it to work and need it to work. So, um, kind of a neat procedure, though. We can lift this culvert up with chains, which, you know, who knew? But so we're setting this culvert in place. We're making sure it's down properly, and that's all through our data that we have gone through months and months before, or maybe years before, and we've gone over it several times. Motto: measure twice, cut once, or you know, figure out the data and put it in once so it's correct. Finally, afterwards, here's the picture of downstream. We go from a deep pool, great fishing spot, to a nice flowing stream, natural bottom, uh, sand and gravel. It's hard to see the gravel, but this is a hard bottom. Before it was hard right at the base, but it was soft on each side. Now it's hard most of the stream here. Um, Upstream, very prototypical. On the right side, the right picture is prototypical trout stream flowing in banks are solid, flowing trout stream. Improvement, definitely. Okay, so that's kind of fish passage in the north, and like I said, it's very, very beneficial for me to have many people involved in the process. And this picture here is just an example of how we can really work together to make something wonderful happen. And that's what um, I aim to do here. And John, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about this. Really look forward to working with you guys.
Jeremiah, outstanding. Thank you very much. This was a great presentation. I just want to mention the brook trout reserves. I had about a 2 hour phone conversation with them about a month ago and told them Wild Rivers would be glad to help support their efforts up here. And I
Wow.
also mentioned to them that they ought to put on their map the South Fork of the White River, up in the
Mhm.
state fishery area. It's all those springs. It's cold. There's a lot of, as you know, because you've helped with Nate and everything. Uh,
Mhm.
it's the young of the year. It's a great spawning area, and it definitely is. There are a lot of brook trout up there that go up there to spawn and everything in the cold water. So, but thank you
Definitely.
very much. I appreciate it, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you.